Hello, my name is Sapphire Moonbeam. I love fairy tale stories. I am going to read a fairy tale story to you called Rumplestiltskin. I'm going to read the story from one of my antique fairy tale books. Once upon a time, there was a poor miller who had a beautiful daughter. One day, the miller had to go and speak with the king. In order to make himself appear more important, he told the king that he had a daughter that could spin straw into gold. The king was very fond of gold, and he said to the miller, "That is an art that would please me very well. If your daughter is so very clever, bring her to the castle in the morning, and I will see what she can do." As soon as she arrived, the king led her into a chamber which was full of straw, and giving her a wheel and a reel, he said, "Now set yourself to work, and if you have not spun this straw into gold by an early hour tomorrow, you must die." With these words, he locked up the room and left the girl alone. There she sat for a long time, thinking how to save her life, for she understood nothing of the art whereby straw might be spun into gold. And her grief became greater and greater until at last she began to cry. All at once the door opened, and in stepped a little man who said, "Good evening, fair maiden. Why do you weep so?" "Oh," she replied, "I must spin this straw into gold, and I am sure I do not know how." The little man asked, "What will you give me if I spin it for you?" "My necklace," said the miller's daughter. The little man took it, placed himself in front of the wheel, and whir, 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 3 times around, and the bobbin was full. Then he set up another, and whir, 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 thrice round again, and a second bobbin was full. And so he went on and on all night long, until all of the straw was spun, and the bobbins were full of gold. At sunrise, the king came, very much astonished to see the gold, but although the sight made him happy, it only made his heart more greedy. He had the miller's daughter led to another room, still larger, full of straw, and then he bade her to spin it into gold during the night if she valued her life. The girl was again quite at a loss at what to do, but while she cried, the door opened suddenly, and before the little man appeared, he also again asked her what she would give him in return for his help. "The ring off my finger," she replied. The little man took the ring and began to spin at once, and by morning all the straw was changed to glistening gold. The king was so happy at the sight of this, but he was still not satisfied. Leading the girl into another still larger room full of straw, he said, "This you must spin during the night, and if you succeed, you shall be my bride." He thought to himself, "A richer wife thou cannot have in all of the world." When the maiden was left alone, the little man again appeared and asked for the 3rd time, "What will you give me to do this for you?" I have nothing left that I can give you, sighed the miller's daughter. Then promise me your firstborn child if you become queen, said he. The miller's daughter thought, who can tell if that will ever happen? And not knowing how else to help herself out of her trouble, she promised the little man what he desired, and he immediately set about and finished the spinning. When morning came and the king found all he had wished for, he celebrated his wedding, and the miller's daughter became the fair queen. About a year after the marriage, when she had ceased to think about the little man, she brought a fine child into the world, and suddenly, soon after its birth, the very man that appeared before showed up again and demanded what she had promised. The frightened queen offered him all the riches of the kingdom if he would only leave the child. But the little man answered, no, something human is dearer to me than all of the wealth of the world. The queen began to cry so much that the little man pitied her and said, I will give you 3 days. If in that time you discover my name, you shall keep your child. All night long, the queen racked her brains for all the names that she could think of, and sent a messenger through the country far and wide to collect new names. The following morning, the little man came, and she began with Casper, Balthasar, and all the odd names she knew. But at each the little man exclaimed, that is not my name. The second day the queen inquired of all of her people for uncommon and curious names, and called the little man Ribs of Beef, Sheep Shank, and Lace Leg, but at each he said, that is not my name. The third day the messenger came back and said, I have not found a single new name, but as I came to a high mountain near the edge of the forest, where foxes and hares say good night to each other, I saw a little house, and before the door a fire was burning, and around this fire a very curious little man was dancing on one leg and shouting, today I stew and then I'll bake, tomorrow I shall the queen's child take. Ah, how famous it is that nobody knows that my name is Rumplestiltskin. When the queen heard this, she was very glad, for now she knew his name. Soon after the little man came and asked, now, my lady queen, what is my name? First she said, are you called Conrad? No. Are you called Hall? No. Are you called Rumplestiltskin? A witch has told you. A witch has told you, shrieked the little man, and in his rage stamped his right foot on the ground so hard he could not draw it out again. Then he took hold of his left leg with both hands and pulled away so hard that his right hand came off in the struggle, and he hopped away, howling terribly. And from that day on, this queen had no more troubles out of the little man visitor named Rumplestiltskin. Thank you for allowing me to read the magic of the fairy tale to you.